Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. Sorry we cannot do this live today, but when, 100,000 people descend on a county of 2,000 to watch an eclipse, bad things happen to the internet. So, no streaming, and unfortunately this also means we will not be able to stream the eclipse, which is something I did really want to do. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. I will, however, take some photographs, and I will be glad to share those photos with you guys all later. So we're going to go ahead and get right on into our updates here. First, we are going to do our privacy, then we have security, we have business and SillyVille today. No AI news except for what was completely nonsense or completely banned. So, those will be in those respective sections. Hopefully, maybe a little bit shorter of a program today. But let's go ahead and get diving right on in. First up in privacy, Cloudflare unveils a free privacy-friendly replacement to the annoying Captcha system. This made me scratch my head a little bit because I was like, I've been seeing this thing around a lot, but I think because they've been testing it out on some Cloudflare-based websites and things, so I've seen this exact thing a lot. What's new here is that they are making this available to web developers, whether or not you use Cloudflare, so that you can utilize the same system and avoid the CAPTCHAs. Now, I don't know if AI has gotten around this as much as it has gotten around the traditional Google CAPTCHAs. Google CAPTCHA is 100% useless. AI can actually solve them better than humans can at this point in time. And this is why I am really pushing for Joomla to give us more options. Right now in Joomla, we have a CAPTCHA 2 and a CAPTCHA 3 option. And CAPTCHA 3 is so invasive, it forces a giant banner that you can't get rid of on every single page on your website. And it uses a bunch of weird backend stuff. And according to CAPTCHA 3's documentation, you shouldn't even use it on the site that doesn't get Amazon level traffic anyway, because it's not effective. But they can get around CAPTCHA 2 super easy. So we really need to see more options showing up in a lot of different places. And this is a direction in that way. Now, I, of course, have been very openly vocal against Cloudflare in the past, and I'm going to maintain skepticism here because the unfortunate thing is that Cloudflare runs more internet background infrastructure, I think, than any other company. I think Amazon technically has the most servers, but Cloudflare deploys the most DNS effectively. And that means if there is a compromise, a breach, or a downage of Cloudflare, or, happened that one day, a guy, the CEO of Cloudflare, woke up one day and said, I don't want this guy on my site, and boom, clicked the button and he was gone. Cloudflare controls way too much to have this, but I will welcome this because the other alternative is Google CAPTCHA. Now, you do still have to create an account, which means this privacy-focused methodology is going to require you to go in there and create an account. So you're going to have to give them some information. Let's see. Actually, I do have, there you go, checking if this site is secure. This is kind of what it does when I don't like this stuff. When I see this kind of stuff, I tend to leave web pages, and that's kind of a downside of this kind of stuff. But that's effectively what it is. And here is their information. And I'm going to just go ahead and see if I can see what all is required. Now, look at this. I just did this. This is how annoying this is. So, to be clear, I'm actually on my T-Mobile hotspot because T-Mobile is apparently not as crowded right now as Verizon is. So under your start for free option, now they have a free and they have an enterprise. Under the free option, each login, you have 10 individual sites. And I got this far on the Verizon account before it's problem loading page. So I have no idea what this is going to do here. The overarching principle is they're going to want some form of information. I don't know exactly what form of information they want. So it looks like to create an account that's already have one. So your sign in, it wants email and a password. Hey, at least it verifies I'm a human this time. I didn't have to click the button for the third time on the site. So I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent. Moving on, over in the UK, over there across the pond, which a cup of tea. That wasn't remotely UK. Oh boy, I'm sorry. I offended y'all. MPs and peers call for immediate stop to live facial recognition surveillance. So UK police forces and private firms have both been utilizing a lot of live facial recognition. Think if you saw the reboot of RoboCop, where he comes in and he's all up on dopamine, if you remember that scene, and within 3 seconds, that's what the guy was at Kovac, I think Kovac Connection, he's like, within 3 seconds he identified, and basically he was scanning the whole crowd with this live facial recognition, comparing this against databases. And so what people are saying is that this is too impactful. Obviously, it's good that he found a wanted criminal standing 3 people away from police, as was recorded in RoboCop. But in the real world application, it's not just as easy as, hey, this thing is disregarding everything that's not a police database. No, these are all collecting and storing and analyzing and keeping records and logs of who's where. And that really is why this is a lot more different. And so more different. I can speak grammar. Me grammar good. Basically, we have several MPs and privacy advocates, Big Brother Watch specifically, backed by 31 groups, including Liberty, Amnesty International, Race Equality Foundation. These are all calling to say, hey, we need to end this practice. And so I don't know if they're making any headway because UK has kind of gone insane. I believe they've passed that whole backdoor encryption stuff. So we'll see what ends up happening from that down the road. I don't know. But with that, we'll kind of see what in the world is going on. There's a call for it. I have no idea if they're going to be successful in said call or not. Well, there's been a breach in 23andMe. 23andMe user data stolen, and it is offered for sale. 7 million customers. Now, 23andMe says that their system wasn't compromised. They say this was cred stuffing. I'm not completely sure it is, however. And a few other people are skeptical as well. This is kind of them. Remember, there is a deep connection between 23andMe and Google. Keep that in mind. Because all of these cases and no cases that not have used one particular function of 23andMe, and that is the ability to click the extra box and add yourself into the profiles to allow you to find and be found by other familial matches. So you can do your DNA tests and they can give you a simple readout and you can see a little bit more about your heritage and maybe some people that are in there. But you can also select a button and you can share this information with other people looking for other possible blood relatives, or should we say chromosomal relatives, I guess, probably more likely. And so all of the 7 million people are in that program, and none of the people breached are not in that program. Yet, nevertheless, 23andMe is like, well, this is just caused by cred stuffing. And it seems to me like a lot of companies are blaming cred stuffing for this type of stuff when that may or may not be the case. And a few other people have raised some concerns about this because it doesn't sound like cred stuffing. It sounds like an error in that function. Again, remember, there is this deep connection between these guys and Google had that, whoops, accidental. If you click the share to share your conversations about Bard, that would end up being publicly indexable by Google. And so it might be a similar type of bug where if you click the button to get in there, such data is acquired. What did people steal? Well, they stole a wide range of things. Mostly they stole the connections. Now, people say, well, I mean, that's your blood. So what? So what? Are we forgetting that the AI is now being used to develop systems to identify who your grandparents are so that little Jimmy calls grandma because he's been thrown in jail in a foreign country, and grandma, I need $5,000 really quick. because that is a common scam that goes around. And if these guys can make these blood relative connections from the stolen information, this is useful stuff to figure out who's who, to figure out who to call and scam for $5,000. They also did get account ID numbers, names, genders, birth dates, maternal and paternal genetic markers, ancestral heritage results, and data on whether or not each user has opted into the health data stuff. I'm sorry. It does say it. The record reports the stolen data does not include it does not include the genomic sequencing data, but does include everything I just reported. So yeah, that's kind of frightening. This is why do not give your DNA up for these stupid things. This is a bunch of nonsense. Not to mention all the FBI backdoors into this crap. No, thank you. And our final one here is Google announces updates to privacy controls, browsing history, and password manager. We're going to talk more about Google and passwords in the business section as they're leading the way to kill the passwords. But again, with all these companies blaming cred stuffing because that's a common thing. We'll talk about that in a bit. Everyone's blaming that. Whether or not that's actually the case, maybe not. But I wager that 7 million people all cred stuffed who all happen to be opted into the same program. I think that's a little bit more of a coincidence. But in this, there's an update coming. Mostly this is impacting your Androids and your iPhones. First major change here is that Google is allowing iOS users to make the Google Password Manager the default if you're using Chrome. They're also giving you the option to delete the last 15 minutes of search history, whereas they said previously you could delete an hour. So the idea here is if you're doing something crazy, unscrupulous, allegedly, or you just don't want somebody who might have access to your phone, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a spouse, whatever else, you can click a button and you used to be able to delete the last hour worth of search results. Now you can go down and granularly and do 15 minutes. So all of the rest of your search history remains intact on your device, but the last 15 minutes now disappears. Now, take note, this is not like disappears forever. If the police come and subpoena you and you are using Google logged in on your device for some crazy reason, they can still see it despite you click the delete button. So this really doesn't solve any serious turnkey government privacy issues. What it does solve is if you have a nosy significant other who you don't want to see what you've been looking at for the last 15 minutes. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good or useful thing or not. Well, we already mentioned the password manager stuff. And of course, the last thing this mentions is the passkeys coming. Again, we're going to discuss that in more detail in the business section. If you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today, we are highlighting Pro Writing Aid. I use Pro Writing Aid to run my writing through this before I release it out. Actually, before I release it to other editors as well. But this is a really good tool that will catch a lot of your grammatical or other mistakes in your writing. It is a good AI nice featured tool, and it does actually have privacy built in from the very beginning. Unlike Grammarly, one of their competitors, these guys have actually never wanted to store, see, collect, analyze, or utilize any of your data, whereas other competitors to this have. You can also go into the tool and you can select what type of writing you're doing. So as a publisher, and when I was publishing a children's book for somebody, I went in and I selected children's book, and it gave me a different set of editing and grammar rules. Right now we're doing a lot of science fiction short stories, so I have it set to science fiction. And I get in there and I get a chance to use it to see what's going on. Using my affiliate code there, tlm.li/PWA for Pro Writing Aid will get you 20% off of your yearly. Actually, that's 73% off there. They've changed things a little bit. And it looks like we don't have a specific discount on the monthly at this point in time, but that does still help support the channel. And you do have a discount there, 20% on the lifetime. So 20% on the lifetime. It is 20% on there as well. See, there's a save 73 and there's a save 20. I have no idea. Whatever. You can get over here, get a discount, tlm.li/PWA. With that, let's move on over to security news. First up, now I had two articles that were basically reporting on the same thing from two different perspectives, so I'll kind of feed both of these into this. Android devices shipped with backdoor firmware as part of a bad box network. Well, that's bad, man. Where do these guys go? Schools, of course. Why not? Now this one here says 74,000 Android-based mobile phones, tablets, and connected TV devices were shipped around the world with a backdoored firmware. The firmware came from a Chinese manufacturer, which was compromised, delivering these basically as supply chain hardware, where they hard-coded the malware into this. This is based on the Trida, I think, malware. And what this is being used for right now, there is some backdoor function, but the other thing this has been used for is it has created a botnet allowing fraudulent advertising schemes. So when, YouTube comes down and be like, you can't use our services unless you turn off your ad blocker, I'd be like, why don't y'all clean up your adware? Your advertising malicious crap that's going on your platform, because frankly, I would wager as high as 20% of all advertisements you're going to see on Google and other places as well. But up to 20% is malware. You want malware to be forced on your device? I don't think so. So use ad blockers all you want. You can use my affiliates there. Keep supporting the channel if you want. With that though, there is this backdoor and it is being used for malware. And so you have to be aware of that. The only way they said to fix this is to reinstall the operating system. Well, can you really reinstall the operating system on the vastest majority of your devices? No, and they're making it harder. So if this were if I could easily reflash the firmware from the developer of the firmware itself onto any device I had, I'd care a lot bit less about this. But with these guys coming in going, oh, well, you're just going to do this or this or this. You just got to inform the the average person on a smart TV is not going to reflash your operating system. So what do you do with it? Take it back. It's the only thing you can do with it. This is part of your adware, botnet. I don't want it. Give me my money back. Give me the ability to refresh the operating. Oh, you can't do that? Well, then give me my money back. Well, this is a fascinating new one. The malicious code for this new campaign is hidden inside of a 404 error page. Go figure. This is called the Mage Cart campaign. This is targeting WooCommerce and Magento. So if you have a WooCommerce site, looking at you, WordPress guys, or Magento, this is targeting both of those. Basically, they're getting into the server and they're either manipulating the file itself, common in WordPress sites, of course, manipulating the file itself, or they're getting in and possibly doing some database stuff. What it looks like in all of these is they're basically manipulating the files on the server. That's usually the case of a WordPress breach. When I get one of those WordPress breaches, the cleanup, depending on the size of your site, might be 4 or 5 hours. It might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more. We get a database breach. Oh boy, you have a tough row to hoe there. So in this case here, there's 3 elements of this, which it uses to hide the various elements. And then what it's actually going to do, and it's this fundamental thing, is whenever you land on a page with a credit card processor, it's going to overlay your credit card processor with a new credit card processor. You're going to input all the information. You hit the place order button, and then it's going to give you an error. And then they're going to take your credit card information, feed that back to their server, get rid of their overlay, and now you'll have the official store. So now you'll enter your information again, click it, and your order will go through. So you don't really suspect anything had happened, despite it actually has. And so it's brilliant. And the way they're hiding this is they have 3 different elements. They have a loader, which is a short JavaScript snippet responsible for the full attack. The malicious code attack executes the code, which is stored on the 404 page. So then the data exfiltration layer, it goes in and it loads the thing up, and then the code just calls some random page on the site that it assumes doesn't exist, lands on the 404 page, which loads the malicious JavaScript into memory. The malicious JavaScript gives you the overlay, it extracts the data, and then kills the overlay to allow the person to get in. Brilliance! So just keep an eye, particularly on your 404 pages, and they have information here about what to look for about this. Of course, all the links are down below. Well, we have more WordPress breaches. We have multiple WordPress breaches this week, and some of them we don't even know what they are. Isn't that great? Isn't that so wonderful? There's all this WordPress malware that the guys won't even tell us what they are. So here, thousands of WordPress sites have been hit by another major plugin flaw. Find out if you're at risk. So these plugins here are tied specifically to a specific theme base. So TagDiv Newspaper and TagDiv News Mag WordPress themes both use a common tool called TagDiv Composer. So this is a required plugin that when you install some WordPress themes, you're going to have a list of required plugins. And this is one of the required plugins that you have to install to use one of these two themes. Well, that particular guy allows some cross-site scripting, allowing people to remotely send and run PHP code, basically allowing an injector, which is what's going to lead you to that shopping cart issue we had just talked about. That's usually how they're getting in and compromising your files. Some case like that. So it's about 17,000 WordPress sites were compromised. The entire attack surface is 155,000 sites currently using TagDiv's vulnerabilities. So make sure you are updating that. And the earliest secure version of TagDiv Composer is 4.2. So if you're using one of those, or you can check your plugins to see what plugins you have there, then you have your, make sure you're at 4.2 or greater. And on to these guys that should be completely flogged in town square, mercilessly. But this is from WordFence. Now, WordFence is definitely considered the leader in WordPress security. Of course, they have the WordPress plugin, which they would really love to have everybody install and give them all your data and buy their stuff. Well, they found a backdoor masquerading as a legitimate plugin. Here's what we know. We know that it looks like a legitimate plugin and it claims to be a caching plugin. But you can go through this whole thing. They analyze a sample. They see what it does. Isn't it great? You think they named the thing? Nope. They do not tell you what the name of the malicious malware is. Okay? So it's a backdoor. We know it's a backdoor. We know it's a caching plugin. Now, if you go to any WordPress site and you click to install a plugin and you click caching plugin, you're going to see 100 results. All right? If not more. Tons. I would like to know what plugin you're talking about that is malicious, even if there's more. Because what he mentions in here is that other site, basically the way this was done, they're utilizing core components of other things, slightly modifying them in a malicious way, packaging them into a bogus plugin. I would like to know what that plugin is, because if I'm managing a WordPress site, for example, and I got 8 to 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 WordPress sites, I'd like to pull up my plugin directory on an FTP server, scan the directory, and see what the malicious plugins are. You think these guys at WordPress are going to do that? No! This is why they need flogged in town square. And I'm not the only one to think about this, because I always look at this in security and be like, I want to know what plugin is this they're talking about. So this guy comes in. That all up here says this. Thanks for this. Free, nulled themes and malicious code have been an issue for many years, and the same applies to plugins. Could you perhaps let us know the name of the malicious plugin, or explain why you've decided not to name it? So Marco, who needs flogged in town square, gives us 3 paragraphs of a non-answer. This guy should be a politician. Okay, he never names the plugin at all. He just says that. I don't know. Do I want to read this or not? Let me read the first paragraph. The second and third paragraphs are much the same. While a null plugin is a plugin that is slightly modified maliciously from its original, this plugin was exclusively malicious code that contained the comment block at the top of the file, implying it was a caching plugin, but no resemblance to an actual plugin would actually want to install on your site, which is why we've decided not to reveal the name of the singleton file. Our experience is these comment blocks are often just randomly added to the malware to make things look legitimate plugins, but we didn't omit this information for nefarious reasons, but simply because it should not be relied on as solely indicator of compromise. And then he kind of goes into it's like, hey, here's this file. If you find this file, this is the file name, and it was malicious. Unfortunately, not every time you find a file with this file name, it was malicious. Sometimes it was the WordPress SEO conf plugin, blah, 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 blah. And then he goes on in. So Biff comes in. Like, is this Biff Tanner? Biff Tanner, would you go beat this guy up, please? Okay, am I missing something, or did you not mention the name of the plugin? Was that by accident or intention? Thanks for keeping it viable and safe. You will find the answer to the question. No, you won't find the answer to the question! You will not find the answer to the question! The guy's a politician! He's being an idiot! What's the name of the plugin? Here's Dave. Hey, what's the point if you don't tell us what the plugin is? You'll find the answer to the question. There is no answer here, you... So what's the name of the plugin? I think every one of us should come in here and say, what's the name of the plugin? I might have it installed. Now, of course, they don't want to tell you the name because they want to sell you their crap. Thank you, retards. I appreciate that. WordFence, piss off. This is a reason I don't use WordPress anymore. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a locals page. So you can jump on over there, SwitchedToLinux.locals.com. Over here, we are releasing those science fiction short stories I mentioned earlier. We release one a month. They are exclusive to the supporters. And you can get those on Locals, on Patreon, on Subscribestar, or on Think Life Media. We will release those in text. And we are also releasing those as an audiobook file as well. And so you can jump on over there, help support the channel, SwitchedToLinux.locals.com. And with that, let's head on down to business news. So first up in business news, Starlink has a new cellular service. They're going to let you stay connected even if you're off the grid. Maintain connections even in the most remote locations. Today is one of those days I do kind of wish I had Starlink. However, it would experience the same problem with internet as cellular would. It gets crowded too. Okay, it gets crowded too. Why do I not have it in my van? Starlink is just not yet viable. It takes incredibly too much power. That's the problem. So, it takes as much power as my streaming computer, my full-fledged gaming big computer. That's how much power Starlink Tower uses. Not viable to run. Short stints here and there, but you're not keeping on. Whereas my current cellular system, that runs 1 amp of power. All right. At most, at peak, 1 amp of power at peak. It usually is significantly less than that. I can boot that guy up on all day, and there is literally no impact on my power. Whereas the Starlink, I could not have that on for more than 3 or 4 hours in a day. So all the people like, you should get Starlink. Starlink is not viable. Stop thinking like a normie who lives in a house and is plugged into an electric grid. In a van, you have to be cognizant of every amp of power you use. Okay? Go watch Apollo 13 and rest in the soul of Gary Sinise as he's trying to figure out the power sequence to power things on. That's the type of level you have to be aware of your power consumption. You can't just turn on a Starlink ditch, which uses 100 watts of power all day. All right, rant over. With that, this is spicy news today. I hope you all enjoy it. I know some of you love the rantiness and some of you absolutely hate it. Let me know in the comments. Do you absolutely love the rantiness or do you absolutely hate the rantiness? Let me know. I'm just curious to know. We don't do it as much because some of you don't like it, but then, then you guys that do like it, you complain that it's not spicy enough. I don't know. I can't please everyone. But these we have companies start off with LTE phones will only have the ability to send text messages sometime in 2024. After that, the service will expand to allow sending voice calls and data plus support for IoT devices like smartwatches in 2025. They state customers will not need a different phone, a firmware update, or a special app. The service will work on your current devices, even in the most remote locations on Earth, provided you can see the sky. There can't be anything getting in the way of the satellite signal. Oh, so I can't get in the middle of a cave? Bummer. Oh, well. So there you have, we have new options coming in. We'll see what happens with that. And frankly, if you can start getting this to work, we can get the power down. I am really looking forward to a day when the Starlink satellites, the Starlink dishes are much lower in power, because then I could actually utilize them. And that would be really awesome. For whatever that is worth, we do have new options for that coming up. Well, there is a new company called Deta, I think that's what it's called, or how to pronounce it already. They want to reinvent personal computers with a new Cloud OS. The idea is you have an entire workstation in the cloud. So whatever computer you're using, you just use to access their current service. Now, eventually, you would just need to get like some generic workstation that can just get on the internet with a basic operating system. We're starting to see these cloud computings. There's a company that provides a variety of Linux distributions in the cloud. There's companies that provide Windows in the cloud. There's one or two that provide Apple in the cloud. These guys are creating, instead of offering current existing operating systems, they're creating their own called Cloud OS. Not sure what this is based on entirely. My guess is it's some form of Linux-ish type thing. But they don't really tell us a lot of the detail here. But it's based on, you have this giant grid and you just paint the various elements that you need onto the grid. It all utilizes an app ecosystem, and they say, all the data in here is your data. And it's still stored on somebody else's servers. Definitely not something for me, but it certainly would be an interesting thing to look at. If nothing else, is an interesting and neat novel concept just to think about. So there is, I don't know. Let me know. Is this something you'd be interested in using or not? I don't know. It seems a little weird, but who knows? And now we have WordPress.com. Back to WordPress again. Now of WordPress, you can officially support federated posting. So it requires a plugin called ActivityPub. You could always get this on your self-hosted WordPress sites. Now, though, it's also officially supported on WordPress.com, and it is part of the free package. The ActivityPub plugin allows you to sync your WordPress site with anything in the metaverse, such as Mastodon or anything else that is a federated type of service. And this allows you to host your stuff up, and then people who have a Mastodon account but not a WordPress login account, they can still leave comments on your posts. They will appear as blog posts or as comments on your posts. So there's a little bit of back and forth. I think this is a step in the right direction. This is the type of innovation I think that caused WordPress to get as big as it is. Now, if they can just abandon that crappy Gutenberg blank, I might actually think about using them more. But as long as they have Gutenberg and pushing that on everybody, and refuse to listen to the massive swaths of people who told them don't do that, I just don't see WordPress as something that I am at all interested in doing. So there is that. And this one here, they're going to let me in or not? I don't know if these guys are going to let me read the whole article. Okay, maybe they are. I am not on my regular firewalled internet, so I wasn't sure if I could actually pull this guy up. Oh, you know what? I guess it's actually my browser settings, not my firewall settings, that caused me to read Wired on this computer. All right, so this is Google pushing to kill that password. And they've been trying to push for this. Apple's been trying to push for this. Microsoft's been trying to push for this. Basically, the big nasties are trying to push for all this kind of stuff. So they step up its push to kill the password. Google is making passkeys, the emerging passwordless login technology, the default option for users, and moves it to make passwords obsolete. This is such a horrible idea on so many levels. Okay. Yes, there is a problem of people doing ABC 1, 2, 3. Okay. We don't kill passwords because a few people are idiots. You don't want to do that. Okay. So the problem here is that They assume your device is perpetual. They tie this to a passkey on your device. Okay, so you set up your brand new Google account. Yay! You're so excited. Oh, nature calls. You go to the bath and you drop your phone in the toilet. Yeah. How you getting in? You see, Stexenhammer had this problem. He had his main computer broke down, and for whatever reason, now you can get like this backup passkey massive thing, same stuff you do with like Element on Matrix and things like that. And that passkey wasn't backed up in his systems. And when his computer went down, that was the only way, because he's probably using this passwordless stuff with these passkeys, and it locked him out of his system. So when he came back to the States, he couldn't create any content on YouTube. So he went, alt tech exclusive for a period of time. Why is he not able to get in with his password? And I experienced this. I had an old Google account that I have all the information for. We let a domain go bad, and we're like, well, we need to get back into this guy. I want to get back into this guy. I want to throw it out. I want to just close down the whole thing. Even though I have all of the information with the username, with everything, I still cannot log in because Google's trying to do this kind of crap. You see, if I have the username and I have the password, I should be able to get into my account, period. The problem with passkeys, first and foremost, like, well, the passkey, this is bulletproof security, just like 2FA, that is absolutely allowing everybody to run rampant because you're forcing 2FA. You're assuming if 2FA is MFA, is probably a better way to say it now. You're assuming MFA is perfect. So now the malware just clones your browser and they get your stuff anyway, despite having the bulletproof MFA all over the place. This isn't going to save anything. All this is going to do is lock legitimate people out while the hackers can still get in. This is a huge problem. Now, yes, people need to not be idiots and don't do ABC123 as their passwords. They need to not reuse passwords, for sure. But to kill the password and say, we're going to use passkeys, they're more secure, they're stored on your device until I drop my device in the toilet, and then what am I going to do? That's the problem. Now, this is why, by the way, I recommend you get yourself 2 YubiKeys. You put both of those YubiKeys on your account. Guess what? That is a passkey. You put 2 on your account. You take one of those and you put them in a safe deposit box. So if you lose your active one, you can go to your safe deposit box, get out your second one, use that to access your account. You get into your security settings, you delete the first one that doesn't work or is broken or is lost or whatever else so nobody else can use it, and then you buy another one to replace that. See, this is why I do not have any phone connected to my Google account. I'm not using Google Authenticator. I'm not using text messages for passkeys. My Google account that I use for this YouTube channel is not tied to anything but the YubiKeys. Perfect security. You got to steal the YubiKey to get in. Now, it's not perfect security, of course. But the point is, we don't need to be trying to force the world away, but this is what Selfish Ledger is trying to do, which is a Google product. Let's move the people in the direction we want them to go. All right, that's crazy. But this is what Google's trying to do. They're just trying to end the passwords because of this kind of stuff. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today we are highlighting DigitalOcean, tlm.li/DOH. DigitalOcean will allow you to get $200 in credit on a new signup, good for 60 days. And then this will help support the channel. Mostly it just gives me credit onto my, my current existing Linode account, which does carry with it a number of different services. You can use your own VPNs, your own Jellyfin servers, Plex servers if you want, but I'd use Jellyfin instead. You can use just all sorts of stuff. The restreaming, so all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of fun stuff you can do on DigitalOcean. So tlm.li/DOH, and that will help support the channel. With that, let's head on over to your favorite place, and mine, SillyVille. We got some good fun stuff today. All right, so there's been apparently a long time bug. However, the bug seems to really only impact maybe Mac or something. I don't know. A few people tried it today on Linux and on Windows and things like that. Couldn't get this guy to work. But apparently there has been a long time bug, so long, I guess, that this is back on OS X captured 12 years ago. The problem is you had this yellow toolbar here that if you minimize the window and this toolbar was up, it would still stay floating perpetually. You had to open the browser back up, move off of it, get the thing to disappear in the thing, and then you had to close it out. Well, this has been a bug that has been festering throughout Firefox for years and years and years, and a 23-year-old first-time Firefox coder fixed it really fast. So that's kind of all right. Sometimes just send the weird little stuff to the new kid. He'll figure it out. Why not? Right? All right. Well, next up, Google has an open source hack that's shaped like a giant keyboard key, and it actually types. You can reach up there, you can push the button, and it will do certain things. Now, there's actually like 4 or 5 different things you could do with the button, just on which direction you go. There's maybe a straight down, a few directions, but you can tie this in with Bluetooth on your phone and tie this to either certain keys or maybe certain functions on your individual device. Very fascinating. Why? Here's basically the underscoring principle of it. Here's a guy with a key on his head. Here's a girl with a key on her head. And here's the top of the key. So it's apparently the G key, the key of G. Yikes. All right. So there's what Google's up to in its spare time when it's not killing passwords. More of this, less password killing, I guess. Well, a sneak attack from a feline wiped out a United States government server with a catastrophic impact. Human technician cat ergonically denies involvement. The U.S. government refuses to confirm or deny whether a cat was involved in a 4-hour footage. This had to deal with the Veterans Affairs Office. So, of course, nobody really noticed anything happened here because it's the Veterans Affairs Office. Nothing ever runs smoothly. But this is the contributing factor. The problem with the VA, apparently, there's too many cats running around deleting the databases. So apparently the contractor was working on it at home, and there was something with a database going on. He pulls up the database, the cat jumps up the computer and inadvertently deletes the database. Oh boy, that is definitely Schrodinger's catastrophe. Oh, the puns in this article are horrible. And so, this guy says this is why I own dogs, of course, So there you have it. A medical database was wiped out by a kitty cat. And, of course, this is the VA. Nobody noticed. It's always bad. All right. AI Bing did what? Well, Microsoft did what to Bing after it created what? Feel like I've reached peak. I don't even know anymore. Peak something, peak everything, just peak. Microsoft has reportedly lobotomized Bing AI after it is said to create an offensive image at the request of users. According to Futurism and Windows Central, Bing AI was lobotomized a few days after an offensive 9/11 image including Mickey Mouse was created. The image shows Mickey Mouse flying a plane and holding a pew-pew right on into some towers. I always knew that Disney had problems here, and this is why. They have a sociopathic mouse at the helm. Come on. So they've already had things in here. They keep certain keywords out, like Twin Towers and 9/11. Now, the people were getting around it by saying Mickey Mouse in a cockpit of a plane flying towards 2 tall skyscrapers. That was enough to get past it. Now they're making it a little bit harder. Now they're trying to do prompts including Donald Duck and planes and any language about towers, but they were rebuffed. Microsoft isn't taking any chances. I mean, Microsoft still remembers what happened to Tay. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. Yikes. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. That will help support the channel. You can jump on over here and you can help support the channel a variety of different ways. You can get the science fiction short stories exclusive over here. You can hang out on the live hangouts and things like that. So if you want to help support the channel, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/TOMM. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time. Thank you for watching this video from SwitchedToLinux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.